There's a book on my shelf called Effortless Mastery, and I've never quite been able to finish this book, by which I mean I've gotten maybe halfway through. And I think part of it is my fundamental resistance to the idea that something like mastery could be effortless. Now, I don't think that that is literal. I think that's more of a clickbait title to some extent, but I do think that he's getting at the idea that mastery can be way, way easier than we think it has to be. For a person like me, at least, I look at the idea of mastery and I go, okay, I have to focus on every little detail. I have to get everything right. I have to really nail this down. I've got to figure it out. I have to understand it. I have to drill every single little thing. And so I'm resistant to the book. At the same time, there's a significant part of me that goes, the most progress I ever make is when I'm enjoying something. The most progress I have is when I'm just doing something for its own sake. That's when I'm present. That's when I enjoy it. That's when I make real connections to the skill that I am developing. So there's not really a logical reason why I resist this book so much. If I look at my own experiences, it points to having a good time being a much better way to learn than aggressively grinding through extremely difficult tasks. And I want to take this time, take this episode to convince myself that, as a matter of fact, having a good time is a great path towards becoming incredibly good at something. And I think that this is a conversation that should be had on a broader context. I think that because of the way we go through school, there's a tendency to go, yeah, well, in order to learn, you have to go through dull, boring suffering. But I don't think that's really efficient or adequate or particularly inspiring learning. I think that is a unnecessarily frustrating and painful way to learn that doesn't really give you much of an outcome in terms of understanding. So here we go. Thanks as always for joining me. This is Game Develop Repeat, and I am your host, Chris. Games are a beautiful example of learning in a fun or enjoyable environment. Games have the benefit of setting you up with goals that are achievable for the amount of skill that you have while developing your skill smoothly. Right? Games are sort of learning simulators for skills that don't really matter that much. You jump into a platformer, and at first it's just having you do some simple jumps, and it's not just saying to you, do one jump, do another jump, do a longer jump, do a shorter jump. No, it is giving you a situation and having you apply those jumps. And then you go, okay, I'm going to do, what if I do it like this? That'll work. Oh, what if I do it like this? That'll work. Oh, there's a longer gap. If I hold this button, can I jump for longer? If I run up to it, can I jump further? How does this work? And you figure it out, you explore. Sometimes it gives you some guidance. Sometimes it just throws you right in there. And then when that reaches a point where it might get a little bit boring, a good game designer goes, here's a new mechanic, bud. You go, okay, let's explore this one. And it lets you explore that a little bit. And then it goes, oh, by the way, you got to jump now, too. Aren't you curious if you can do that mechanic while you're jumping? Maybe it's just a sword swipe or something. So then they show you an enemy in the air. And you go, oh, wait, maybe I can swipe in the air. Right? You add that mechanic in. Oh, it turns out I can, and the attack looks a little bit different than the one I was doing on the ground. How cool. And then we start mixing and matching these mechanics. The jumping got boring, so we added the attack. The attack on its own started to get a little boring, so we added the jump back in. Now we're going to add shooting missiles. Now we're going to add slowing down time. Now we're going to add whatever it is that we need to add in order to flesh out the full game. and give you a nice, smooth mastery of all these different mechanics that tie together. And at no point, hopefully, because there are games that do this kind of thing, at no point did the game just go, do this many times. Do this many times. Do whatever this many times. You are now ready to learn the next skill. Do it this many times. Now there's an exception to this that I think is fine. There's games that at the very beginning go like, hey, move your cursor this way, press this button to do this. Like they just like confirm that you know what your key bindings are, or like know where the button is on the controller. That's okay, right? Where it's like, hit the enemy 3 times with a light attack. Now hit the enemy with a heavy attack 3 times. Like, it's annoying, sure. It's not the end of the world, but like, I don't love it. There's instances where that makes sense though, to implement that in like a multiplayer game that has like an initial tutorial arena thing, right? I get it. Darktide does this. And I'm fine with how it does it in there. But like, you don't want a game that is telling you to do like 25 light jumps, 25 large or long jumps, and then, kill the next 10 enemies using only this attack. And then, unless it's like an interesting challenge. But that's kind of what games are doing in the early phases of any new skill that you learn. They're kind of giving you a situation that you have to navigate using the skills that they've introduced you to. And a really good game doesn't give you a giant text dump for this. But I think that my methods of learning should be closer to this. But I think that I have the deep-rooted belief that effective learning is the other way. And I'm going to be real with you, it's not the other way. And when I teach students, I don't teach it the other way, or when I did teach students. But for some reason, for myself, I tend to teach it that way. I tend to go, okay, time to get brutal with it. Okay, time to sit here and drill. Time to sit here and create a spreadsheet and go, okay, go through these, then go through those, then go through these, then go through those. And to be honest, it doesn't work. Not because it doesn't work, but because I don't do it. Right? I mean, occasionally I have, but at some point it falls off. I've had periods of time where I actually get a lot done that way. And then I stop doing it at all because I look at it and I go, this is miserable. Or like, why would I keep learning like this? There's no point in learning this skill anymore if I'm just drilling relentlessly this one boring little thing and I still haven't quite mastered it, even though I've spent so much time on it. Well, yeah, dude. You haven't mastered it because you haven't put it into contexts that are interesting to you. You haven't mastered it because it's not exciting right now. You haven't mastered it because at some point you stop paying attention and stop having emotional experiences with the thing, so your brain just lets it disappear and go on autopilot. Games keep you emotionally invested. Games keep you focused. Games make you remember why that skill is important because you finally got over that gap. You miraculously did not die that time because you figured out how to parry, because you landed it at the perfect time, and you're going to notice the difference. Even if you're not thinking about it in your head, if you're not going, ooh, I parried 0.1 seconds faster than I usually do. No, you feel it. You get experience with it and you notice it. And it is one of the things that most interests me in games and game development. And one of the things that most make games appeal to me is this skill development process. It's an incredible learning environment. And I miss certain games that were particularly challenging with this. I miss Warcraft 3. I was obsessed back in the heyday of Warcraft 3. Absolutely obsessed with it. I love a good learning experience. It's deeply satisfying. And because it is so deeply satisfying, it's important to me to find ways to bring my development experience a little closer to that old, enjoyable gaming experience that I've had, or rather, just to make it more fun. It's not going to be like gaming to that extent, but I want to harness the fun instead of just the like exact opposite. Not everything can be as fun as a video game is. but it will be more satisfying a lot of the time. Um, but it doesn't have to be, while it cannot be as fun as a video game necessarily, learning a new skill does not need to be a relentless drilling, a relentless, painful experience. Are there moments when that's effective? Sure. But I think in the big picture, it's counterproductive. And now we're going to talk about how I've been dealing with this in my game development this week, because I chose this topic because I feel that I've made progress on it, and I have a lot of cool little game development things to share with you this time. So let's jump into that. Have I ever mentioned to you how goal resistant I can be? I can be very goal resistant. Like I'll get the advice of set a clear goal, and I'll go, no, it's fine. I've got a vague goal. I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but I recently set some goals, and they were like, I tested them to make sure they were practical, and I went, okay, we're going to run this experiment. We're going to spend this week doing a little bit of idea brainstorming, a little bit of game design. We're going to do some drawings. We're going to do a little bit of writing. We're just going to touch a lot of elements of game design that I like, that I know I like, and I'm just going to tell myself, okay, here's your daily goal. Your daily quests, if you will. The worst part of every game, but still a compelling gameplay element. Daily quests, great. Oh, I got to hop in and do my dailies, but still, I'll try it, right? I don't like dailies in a game, but I decided to do dailies in my own game design. And you know what? I'm still a little resistant to it, but here's the results. Here's the exact challenge and the results. I did 3 drawings of faces. Let me give you context. First, I assigned a mood. So let's say today is happy. I go, okay, we're going to draw 3 happy faces. We're going to come up with 10 ideas related to the concept of happy for a game design. We're going to turn one of those into a micro design, like a very, very crude game design. And then I'm going to, hold on, I'll remember. I'm going to write one quick writing prompt, like a couple paragraphs, maybe 3 paragraphs, that sets the mood of happy. Each day, pick a new mood, go through the same thing. It ended up taking about an hour, right? So the 10 ideas are like things in a game that would make the player happy, or things that have a sleepy vibe if the mood was sleepy, whatever it may be. And then off of those, one would spark a game design idea, and so on and so on. It was pretty good. It was nice. I've drawn a bunch of faces and so on and so on. There was a lull in the middle of the week where I went, I don't really know, man. I'm not really feeling it. And then I just kept going anyway, and then it picked back up, and I went, oh wait, no, I am feeling it. This is nice, right? Sometimes you hit a little rough patch, and some of the writing clicked really well, and I've found that I just had a cool writing idea separately. Like I went to take a shower, and I was listening to some music, and then my brain just clicked, and it went, oh, here's an idea. Here's an idea that has nothing to do with the ones that we've been writing all week. I just have an idea. Let's look at this idea. Let's write about this idea. And I got really excited about it. I wrote like a full page. I don't really know what the game design for it would be yet. I still struggle with like story-based designs, but it's a nice story idea that I like, that I think is cool to explore a little. It's not turning into a full project yet, but here's the reason this is exciting. My mind went from, I'm going to take a shower and kind of think about how I don't want to go to work on Monday, or just kind of think about like some chores that I have to do, or kind of dread some random thing, or, just general like, oh, I got to take care of this and that and the other and so on. Instead, it just went, oh, wait, I got a game idea. Because I'd been doing game ideas the whole week, and it clicked. I don't know. I had kind of brought my mind towards, hey, let's have some fun with this. Let's explore some ideas. Let's explore a thing that you care about. Because I care about emotional communication through games, basically. And in a moment when I wasn't thinking about anything in particular, I had a classic shower thought, the good kind. It helps that I have been pretty aggressively eliminating a lot of digital distractions from my life. I'm using a dumb phone in my day-to-day life now. But yeah, it gave me hope that this method of doing just a little bit of a lot of these different game design things every day will lead to these little moments of inspiration. Am I going to keep doing this relentlessly? Am I going to keep doing this permanently? No, because that wouldn't be fun, right? But like, I'll keep doing it while it's fun, right? I'm not vowing to stick to it forever. Initially I was, and then I was like, oh wait, hold on, too much. But I am going to keep exploring it, and I'm going to see what comes of it. I also I'm just talking about my development right now, but I promise I'll talk a little bit about something other than my progress. The other part that I want to tie into this is that I did a tiny little game programming, tiny little bit of game programming. Not anything huge, right? Because I'm already doing all that other stuff. It's significant to program at all on top of that. But I did just a little making something follow my mouse and holding it over a zone and making that zone get smaller as I hover over it while I accumulate points. And I made the little zone follow a path. So I used Path 2D. I used Path 2D Follow, I think it's called, or Follow Path 2D. Couple sprites, areas, an area to follow my cursor at all times. So it required me to use a couple methods and built-in signals and things that I hadn't used before. So that was nice. And it went very quickly. It went very smoothly. It was a very basic level game idea from during the week that I just like threw together, implemented with no graphics, no nothing. Literally just a mechanical implementation of a very basic idea. And that felt satisfying. And that's what I was looking for. Would I like to have done more with it, to be honest? Nah, yeah. But it reached a point where it wasn't really pulling me, and I went, nah, I really want to watch Chainsaw Man, so I'm going to watch Chainsaw Man. And I did. And it was good. I don't think I'm as big on that show as I think most people probably are. It was good, though. Now I'm checking out Demons of the Shadow Realm, which is... I'm like 3 episodes in, and I went, "Oh, this is good. this seems pretty good. I like the potential here." Anyway, design in general. Once again, let's zoom back out. I talked a lot about my own particular design progress this week, and I feel very happy about that. I think I took the time to design a system for myself, a little system that lets me touch different elements of game design or development every day and decide what I want to spend some time on. Because okay. I know how to explain this. Sorry. Bear with me. I have a tendency to go, well, what am I in the mood for in terms of design? Do you know this feeling where you get stuck and you go, well, should I do this or this or this or this? I don't know. Which one should I do? Which one am I most in the mood for? Whatever. And that leads me to go, well, I don't know what I want to do. Or more importantly, well, apparently I don't want to do any of these because I don't obviously know which one I want to do. So I guess I'm not going to do any of them. It's hard for me to pick up on the subtle cue of which one interests me the most at any given moment. So I do a tiny bit of all of them, and if one of them is really interesting me, I'll feel it much more clearly, right? I'm in there, I'm trying it out, and I'll go, ooh, this is going well. I'm enjoying this. I'm going to do more of this right now. I'm engaged. I'm having an emotional reaction to it. I'm learning from it. It's exciting. It's particularly compelling. I'm going to keep doing this. As opposed to sitting there and going, which one should I do? Which one's going to be good? Which one's going to be the most compelling? Which one's going to be the most interesting? What do I need to learn? What am I most behind on? So on and so on. No. Just hop in there and try it. Dip your toe in the pool. See how the temperature is. See if you feel like diving in today, Of course, I did a little bit more pushing than just see if you feel like diving in, right? I did a little bit more. I did a little like, you got to spend this much time in it to acclimate to the water. You got to spend this much time just to feel it out creatively and to go, okay, here's where I'm at. Let's go. So that's my pitch. To put that in practical terms, if any of you are struggling with the problem of getting stuck between different disciplines, my practical angle here, not really advice to be honest, but the angle that I tried that is an interesting idea, I think, is to explore each of the things you're considering doing for a few minutes, 5 minutes at least, maximum 20. Like, I would not force myself to do something for more than 20 minutes unless it was essential to get it done. Um, like, I'm talking like really essential. Like, I have to, like, if I don't get this done today, I'm gonna have a bad grade in my class or something like that, right? Like, but if for your own creative projects, man, whatever, right? Chill. It's cool. Spend like 5 minutes, see if you're feeling it for a bunch of different things, and then as soon as you find one that you're feeling, do it. Get after it. Have some fun with it. And then once you stop having fun with it, okay, cool. You're done. That's fine. We're busy people. We got busy lives. Unless there's a big goal, unless there's a large pursuit, like specifically a big goal, if you're just trying to develop some skills, I think the joy of it is a little more important than the hard push to develop the skills. That's kind of that's my angle. I'm not even sure if it's true, but that's what I'm trying to convince myself of, probably to correct from the old pattern of just absolutely annihilating myself with one skill and just grinding it into the dirt and going, you have to be perfect at this thing before you can move on to anything else. There's no such thing as perfect at any one skill. You can spend an eternity on just one tiny little thing, you know? And that's a trap. And I'm maybe overcorrecting, but trying to get out of that trap. I don't think I'm overcorrecting. I think I'm balancing. That's what I have to say about design. Before we close out, well, I'll figure out what question to ask you, and maybe I'll talk about anime a little bit. I don't know. You're about to find out. Okay, let's start with anime. I have mild gripes with Chainsaw Man, which I believe is a really good show. I liked it a lot, but I'm reaching this point where sometimes I'm getting really picky with media that I'm consuming. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like the character development in Chainsaw Man just didn't quite do it for me. The main character doesn't develop in like an interesting, nuanced enough way. The there's just a little bit too much of a disconnect. There's not enough like emotional connection to the main character. I don't really feel like I'm going on this journey with him. I'm not really that invested in everything that's going on, but I will say what I really like about this show is that it's there's only one season out. It is a strong, quick moving season. There's a lot that happens in a short amount of time, and it's compelling. Like I ripped through it. It was a good show. There are some interesting characters. I just didn't find them emotionally interesting. The world building is interesting for sure. I like some of the questions that they leave up in the air for you. I like wondering how things work with all the devils and the fiends and stuff. And I like when they introduce some quirky behaviors from different fiends and devils and what have you, and the distinct personalities of different beings in the universe. There's some mystery. It's interesting. There's some elements of it that are very, very cool. But right now, it just missed something that I really wanted in there. And I don't know what it's character development for sure. But I don't know why I'm being so picky about it. It's just like, it was good. It's an enjoyable show. that's just so close to being insanely good. I think that's what's getting me, is I just feel like it missed my mark for absolutely incredible and just stayed in the like, oh, this is pretty good. Like, oh, this is a really good show. And there's just like a little 5-10% bump that would have made me go, holy crap, this is good. Now, Demons of the Shadow Realm, I'm immediately very curious about the world. I'm very curious about a lot of the stuff that's going on. I'm curious about how these characters are going to develop. I immediately see a lot of potential for depth in the interactions between certain characters and the growth of individual characters based on the environment that they have set them up in, based on the knowledge that they have going into everything. I'm looking at it and I'm going, this could be extremely interesting. And I'm remembering that I saw the name of the guy who did Full Metal Alchemist on this, and I'm going, okay, that series was really good in a lot of ways, and I'm wondering if we're going to pull off some of that stuff again. And that's my anime rant. I'll stop talking about anime. I almost never watch anime. I might watch the Chainsaw Man movie. I haven't seen that. You know what I really want to see is this movie called Blue Giant. It's about like a saxophone player, I think. It's been on my list for a long time, but I think it's on Netflix, and I don't have Netflix, so I don't know, whatever. It may not even be that good. It's a music anime, and I like watching music anime. That's the end of anime talk now. I promise. Hit me up in the Discord if you got anime talk. I don't know. I'm on a kick right now. It won't happen for very long. It dies pretty quickly most of the time. But that's that. Yeah, let's wrap this thing up. Here's your question. Here's your question for this week, because this is one that I'm asking this for my own personal benefit, to be very frank, but it might be interesting for you to explore. What is your experience of intentionally improving at something? What I mean to say is, what strategies do you use to get better at a skill, and which ones work best for you? That's my question. My answer is I use relentless drilling and being forced to get good at it by some external pressure. At least that's what I used to use, and I burned out on that, so I no longer do that, and now I'm developing a new strategy. So, if you have an answer to that question, hop into the Discord, hit me up with it. Even if I don't post the question in the Discord, because I seem to just keep forgetting to do that, you can still hit me up with it, whether it be just adding me and saying, hey, this episode's question, here's my answer, or just throwing it in there. It's all good. That is everything that I have for you this week. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, get out there, make some stuff, and this episode, more so than any other episode, please have fun with it. All right, I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.